Hi, I'm Peter. I'm an alumni of Team 8179, and I'm going to go over the important game rules. So the first important game rule that we have is you can have one of each game piece at a time, so that's one coral and one algae. You have a 1-6-inch expansion limit on every side of the robot, so that's the max expansion you can go. You can't ever hit opponents in the cage. We have this rule here if you want to go look at it more. You can't climb on the anchor. You have one defender at a time. So this is a pretty important rule that they added this year, as you can see with the stars. It's this rule here. It's a minor foul at first, and if you don't change it after 3 seconds, then you get a major foul every 3 seconds after. You have a 3-foot-6-inch maximum start height. We couldn't find any expansion limit in the vertical direction, so if you can find that, let us know. And our weight limit has this decreased from 125 pounds to 115.
My name is Chelsea. I'm an alumni from Team 3707, and this is my first year doing Ri3D. When looking at algae, there's something really important to note. If you're the Red Alliance, then you will actually be scoring in the blue processor, which is marked off with blue tape. You'll score 6 points with that, but because the opposing alliance's human player will be right next to there, they can take those algae and score it into the barge, gaining 4 points. So you will only net 2 points.
Hi, my name is Noah. I'm an alum of Team 818, and I'm here to talk about the RP. So we have 3, custom RPs, and then just the 3 for winning and 1 for ties. So this is obviously a 6 RP game, which is a little bit unique when compared to the past. So the first RP is the auto RP, which is that all robots not only leave, but at least one of them scores a coral, and that could be at any level, L1 through L4. Doesn't matter, although we're thinking L1 is going to be the easiest down here. The next RP I'm going to talk about is the endgame RP, which is the barge points. And what that is by any combination of, your endgame hanging points, so you need to get 14 points. Then we can look up there for this. So if you get 1 deep climb, 1 part, that gets it. If you get 2 shallow, 1 part, that gets it. And then a combination of that there. The final thing is your coral RP. If you fail to get the co-op, which I'll talk about in a second, you need to score 5 on every level. So at least 20 coral have to be scored, and you have to hit that L4, which I think is going to be a really big challenge. But if you do manage to get co-op, which is at least 2 algae in each processor, which obviously you have to cooperate with the other lines to do, or of course you can go help them out, which I think we saw a lot in last year's game. In which case that would eliminate one of these levels. I think for most teams that's going to be your L4, which means you would only have to score 5 in L1 through L3, but it can be any of those. So for some reason to decide L2 or L1 or L3 are more of a challenge, and could skip that one as well and just score 15 notes or 15. Okay, you can say that a lot.
Hello, my name is Brandon. I'm an alum of Team 453. So this is a score calculator we made to try and test out different strategies and see the possible ways to achieve each ranking point. So if you want to make a copy of this, you can go on our Chief Delphi thread, it's there, and you can just select that file, make a copy. But the utilization of this is to be able to type in different amounts of possible scores for the red and blue alliance and see possible outcomes. And as you do it, it will update different ranking points. So you can see if you were to achieve all of the autonomous skills, then you would get the auto RP. This works for both the coral RP and the barge RP as you go through. So this is a great tool to try and test different strategies where perhaps you focus on algae, focus on coral, and see the pluses and minuses of each one depending on the alliance you're playing against.
Hello, my name is James, and I am a Team 578 alumni, and I am explaining our ideation process for different types of robots. We have must-have, where a robot would be a failure without these attributes, should, where it would be a disappointment without these attributes, or could, are the luxury attributes, and end means that these are not worth having in this particular type of bot. So our algae bot, it must have a low scoring mechanism, and it should have a high scoring mechanism for our algae. In terms of coral, it should be able to score 1 coral and autonomous in the lowest level, but other than that, it doesn't score coral. In endgame, it could go deep, it should at least hang shallow, and it has to be able to park. This is because algae is a more simple design, and its usage would taper off near the end of the game, leaving it more time for endgame. It should be able to score 1 in auto, and we're not going to worry about any other auto scoring. It will have a low intake for picking up algae off the ground. It could have a human player intake for coral, if just for auto, or an associated usage with that. And it could have an algae high intake if we wanted to pick it up directly off the reef. But for our coral bot, it could do a little bit of algae, but mostly it must score on the lowest level, and it should and could score on the rest of it. That endgame is the same as our algae bot, and most of the rest of this is the same, with the exception of our intakes. Our algae low intake, it could have one, but it's not necessarily. It has to have a human player intake. This is the fastest way for a coral bot to score. It could have a ground intake, but we're not expecting many pieces to be out of the ground, so we're not prioritizing that, and then it won't have any algae high intake. Our hybrid bot is probably the most complex of them, and we value that it should have some algae scoring, and it still has to have the same coral scoring, with the exception of the level 4 scoring here. We don't expect a hybrid bot to score on the level 4. The end game, we deprioritized because of its utility as scoring. It can continue to cycle while there being robots take care of the young game. And then as we get down into auto, it must be able to score 1 at the beginning of auto, and it should be able to intake low algae. It has to be able to intake coral from the human player, and we're not worrying about it being able to pick off coral off the ground, and we might worry about it being able to take algae out of the